let's do this. I'll use the shorter stick to warm up. Tonight we're going to look at a couple of different things. This is going to be an entirely weapons class, and I'm going to classify this as a weapons class because we can use the stick and we can use the shorter stick, the smaller stick. But these techniques, all of these techniques, also work with different types of blades as well. And so even if we have something like a regular old metal kitchen knife, or we have something like a saber, a sword, or a blade, the BIAN, the weapons, the hand tricks, the wrist tricks, this turning that we're working with can be used for all of them, including the longer stick, right? We can use this blocking with a long 6 foot staff as well. So we're going to continue working on the form, and then we're going to look at some techniques that go with it. Let's do a little bit of stretching to start. If you have your feet, let's actually do something else. Take your stick. You can set it down by using your foot, and then bring your hands together, and then starting again from here. Take your stick, and however you like to hold it, I'm just gripping it like a bar this way, and pulling back here. So pull your head top up, breathing, and stretch your whole body like a bow. So grip your feet and then use the stick. Even if you have I know some people are using like a ruler, a smaller stick. And then go one more time, 3 times, stretch the whole body, breathing deep. You can go a couple of times. And then from there, turn, lift one foot. If I'm facing forward, if I lift the other heel, and push one hand up, and then breathe in, come back to the center, and then the other side, push the other hand up, and then return to the center. Next, use the stick on this back portion of your head and neck. Remember, we said try not to hit the skull, but you can use it as a massage tool. So like you're working from this side and down the back of the neck this way. So take the stick. You can apply as much or as little pressure as you like, and unless you've been doing a bunch of yoga, it should feel pretty good. So work your way all the way down to the side. And then pulling the side of the neck down this way. I'm using. So almost like directly under your ear. Imagine your neck like a cylinder, just on either side of the cylinder. In fact, experiment, find the right place. And then, when you're done, take the stick. And the same thing, push it over the tops of your shoulder blades. So your shoulder blades are sort of flat at the top this way. And so you want to take the stick and just running it over the top of it this way, right? So breathe deep, try to expand your the shoulders and upper pecs by breathing all the way into the upper, as if your lungs were a house. You want to breathe all the way up into the attic. So all the way to the top, to the eaves of the lungs, and then with regular relaxed breathing, let's do a little bit of turning around the center. So whether you turn your head with this one or whether you keep it facing forward, try to keep it vertical. So relax your tailbone, push your head top up. Your spine actually sits just a little bit behind dead center, the spinal column. So imagine between Huiyin and Bai Hui, keep working, keep turning. From this base point, which is in acupuncture is Huiyin, it means the dark bottom, or this one, Bai Hui at the top, means the bright meeting point, yin and yang. Between those 2 points, imagine a center line, like a horse on a carousel, going through the middle. And in Qigong culture, that line is considered to be light or filled with light. So imagine, while you turn, making that center line straighter, breathing deeper. And imagine by breathing in, you can charge up the energy in the center. This is the idea coming from a Mao Shan Taoism, that your center line is filled with light. Try to turn if my camera is my center, try to turn your palms all the way to the center. Breathe deep. And then come back to the center again. Let's do a little bit of bending at the waist. So this time using the stick and pushing the top of your hips back, the top of your thighs, right at your hips, and then breathing deep, relax, allow your body to suspend the stick. So it's holding it right in the middle. And then imagine that the stick, relax your head top, relax your neck, so that everything is going with gravity. And then imagine that the stick has cables on both ends and somebody's pulling it towards the ceiling, like a trapeze or a swing. And you're just resting your body over top of it. And then when you're ready, grip your toes. As you unroll your spine, use your elbows, your forearms, and your hands to catch the stick, pushing all the way up, stretch out, breathe deep, inflate all the way, and relax. Let's do one more of those. Same thing. So use the stick, push the tailbone back and away, grip your toes, release your spine, relax your back, breathe deep. Feel the energy moving in your back, your neck, your head top. And then when you're ready, grip your toes. As you come up, use your arms to catch the stick. Breathe, expand all the way up to the top, and relax. For the legs, if we're standing and we put one foot forward in the square, just pushing downwards on the front. Imagine that you have 4 sides of your legs, like it's one large box, rectangular structure. Everybody's shopping from Amazon. So imagine you get a large box from Amazon and you want to press down on the front of it, on the top portion, and then press down on the side of it, on the side portion, and then press down on the inside of it. And then take the stick, flip behind, and press down on the back. And go all the way to the ankle. Breathe deep. Use your abs to support, to protect your back. And then when you're ready, grip the ground, stand up. This is all breathing. And then, by the way, because this is the weapons class is kind of an advanced class, just remember the Tai Chi ideas. We're always protecting our structure by using the correct placement of all the pieces. So when I'm standing here doing this, I don't want to hunch my back and strain my neck, right? So the same thing on the other side. Find a couple of different lines going down the front of your leg. If we reduce that surface to a rectangle, try to cover the whole surface of it, breathing deep. Use as much power as you like. or as little. Do the inside. Same thing. Cover the whole perimeter of the inside of the leg. Remember to breathe through the outside. Use your abs to support. Relax your back. Relax your tailbone. And then take the stick underneath, pressing all the way to the ankle. Grip your foot. Use a good posture. Find all the points on the back of the box, all the way, as if it's a planar surface running down the back. And then when you're ready, breathe, push forward, grip your toes, stand up straight, take a deep breath. Let's do something else that we didn't do before we started stretching, which is, let's do some breathing. So take a nice, regular, a tall horse stance, and then just slowly, breathing, inflate all the way. So we've already done all of the stretching and using the stick to warm up. So we can take this time to relax and inflate, filling up with energy. So while you breathe, in my classes I've been talking a lot about negative space. So imagine filling from the bottom to the top all of the hollows. So keep working, breathing at this pace. I want you to think about, in addition to, we talk about there's a hollow inside the hand. There's a cup here, right? And we may be able to find a hollow under the armpit very easily, right? Something like that. But also think about when there's definition in the body. If we see somebody is in the bodybuilding world, they say if somebody is cut, right? If you have these lines, those lines are all valleys, right? The space between, the same thing here. If you look at my thumb, there's a divot. You have it in your thumb as well, right? All of these spaces, these hollows between the tendons, between the bones. Imagine if all of those were filled with chi. And if you go through the body, imagine all of the divots on your feet. So you want to inflate all of those empty spaces, all of the little wrinkles around the perimeters of your toes, the space where the pads of your feet turn into the skin on the midsection of your feet. That little tennis ball shaped thing here in the ankle, all of the spaces around that filled with chi, working your way upwards. Your calves, between the calf muscles, all of that space inflated. It helps, the more you relax, the more you can relax, the more that can expand. And just keep working your way up. And those are the small spaces. And imagine, keep breathing, that filling the space in between. They call it mabu, horse stance, because it's like riding a horse, right? So the Chinese, a lot of times, people learning martial arts, just as our form, the stick forms coming from carriage drivers, a lot of times people riding a horse, farmers, this type of thing, learning martial arts. So imagine filling that space, yoga ball, where the horse saddle is, and then even in a different, instead of thinking vertically this way, we have a space back here, and we have a space between the knee and the toe this way, this triangle and this triangle. So fill those spaces with chi as well. Let's do 3 more. Go at your own pace. And when you reach the end, just go back to Tai Chi Harmony. Bring the feet back together, and then correct the posture. Bring the hands to the center. And then find the relaxation. There's one point moving upwards, and everything else as if it's just being supported by that top central point. And take a deep breath to relax. Before we do anything fancy, let's do the whole first section of the first form. By the way, remember this is a short form, so I think in a very few number of classes we'll be able to learn the whole thing. We're almost through the first section already, just with what we've got. So let's review the whole first section, and then we'll come back and look at where we took off from last time, start a new movement, and then reviewing some of the previous movements using different types of weapons and see how the hand tricks work. Even if there's only one handle, I have a knife, a small knife here we can use. So I'm going to use the larger stick so that you can see as I travel in perspective, and starting from the salute. So both arms are round, the center is straight, the feet are gripping, we're ready, block, cast, recoil and flip, turn the stick and smash, and then catch, cutting up. We're going to turn to block, pointing the stick down. This is drilling up towards the corner, stepping forward, high hit, and then spinning on a pivot to the ankles, tip up, forward, high hit again, and then turn. The turn starts us into the second section, which travels in the other direction. By the way, let's actually do that. We'll repeat that first section again, but just watch for one time, just as a demo so that you can see. You don't have to think about the movements. You don't have to think about what's going on. You can just watch. I'm going to start a little bit further back. The opening is fairly easy to do so that I'm on camera for the rest of it. So from here, we have a block, cast, recoil, hit, flip, cut, low hit, tip, top, turn, catch, hit. And the next one starts coming back at the camera. In fact, the first, maybe second movement, depending on how you classify it in the second section, is this elbow thing that we do in the first section. So, Mark, were you in class when we were doing Chuan, this one, the drilling?
You cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, sorry. Were you in the class when we were doing this drilling posture, Chuan? Can we review that? Should we review that, or should we move forward? Yeah, that one. Okay.
I don't think I was in the class, but I'm familiar with the move.
Okay, right. It's actually that's good, because one of the things I was going to talk about, and we'll review it. So if you know this one, yeah, cool. So this movement is Chuan, and what Mark was just doing, if you can see his camera is correct, is he's tucking his arm up under the other arm, and this is a fairly sort of famous movement because it appears also in a completely another style. This appears in Wang Zihai's Feng Mo, which is the crazy demon staff. And their first movement in the Feng Mo is from this type of horse stance is this movement. It's a really fantastic opening gambit because it creates this spiral around this pivot point and allows you both to get around an opponent's. It's a really tough one to defend against, right? So in this form, let's examine from the beginning where that comes from. So we have the ready stance, and we block. We have this casting, like throwing out, and then recoil, flip into the elbow, this thing that goes here. We turn the stick over and smash, slide the hand up to catch, and then flip up this way. And the next one is the block. It's a sweeping block before the drill. And so now pointing towards the heel, stepping up, and drilling. So looking from a different direction. If I face this way, if I'm traveling sideways, right, and I fold this into my elbow, I turn, smash, I catch, and I cut up. And then when I step back, I have this sweeping block. My gate is here sideways. I'm going to use this stick along the edge of my gate here, and it's going to end up along the edge of my gate this way. So, adding to whatever, if we just look at this posture, prior to, on the other side, we have the right hand is up, and the left hand is down, and then the movement translates that to the right hand being in the armpit, and the left hand is just a guide. So remember, we talk about waba, which is a movement. So if this right hand is gripping here, and the left hand is sliding this way, this is the feeling. From after we do this sweeping block, my left hand is on top. And then I'm going to turn it under to serve as a guide, almost again like shooting pool, and then going up to the corner. And you can, again, if you like to hit further, you can optimally, and especially if you have a larger stick, right? If you're using the full-size stick, to really control it, you really need to get it into the armpit. For the smaller stick, for the short handheld, right, for this one, you won't go to the armpit. It's a different kind of thing, unless you're actually trying to strike with that tip this way. But for the range, you're going to slide it all the way through, and you use both hands, right? So this kind of, if I'm here, if I do my block, and then when I turn this way, I can slide all the way out. What does that look like? What does that look like with a knife, right? Because if we use a sword, after we have the cut up, the cut up is very, very clear with the sword this way, is I cut this way, the sword. And then I have to catch on the spine, which is the side of this. This is a saber, not a sword, by the way. Saber has a flat side. And so, just like a knife, it's considered a large knife. So now, after my cut this way, I can catch on the knife and block here, and then I use my hand to steer the blade and end up Schwann drill this way. And my hand can slide along the backside edge here, right? I can keep it here and use it like an extension of the arm. Same feeling is going out and around. And I can bring both hands together. Now, what about a different knife? Right here. I may need to be closer to the camera because the size of this is just a regular kitchen knife, right? I don't know what the scale of it is. It's not Mark is a master chef, so he has the high quality blades. This is something from my kitchen. I don't know what the quality is, whatever. So the same idea, the cut up, right? If you have this, we talk about this cut up motion. You're using two hands. So when there's a cut up here, there's a cut this way. And then the same thing, if you want to turn, you're using both hands. You have one hand on the back of the knife to turn. And then for the drill, the same thing here. I'm using both hands, and I end up drilling so that if I was pressing, I have this circular shape like in the taiji form that's turning up this way. So if I'm facing the camera, if I cut up here, I have the strength of both hands, the yin-yang palm, and then turning to block, right? This probably not going to block, but maybe slashing this way. And then this next movement, cutting up. Does it look powerful? Does it look strong? Yeah, you can go to your kitchen and get a knife if you want, right? It works. It's the same technique. So to review for Mark, if we're facing that direction, did you get to this one, Mark? Did we cover this movement? Did you see that one? No. Okay, let's review. Let's go back a little bit. So from the beginning, we have ready, block, and cast. And then recoil and flip. And then from the flip, we're just going to unwind the hands and step forward, smash. Let's do that from the side so you can see, because that's the smash is the precursor to the cut up the center. By the way, the name for that one in Mandarin is za, and it literally translates to smash. So if I'm traveling east-west this way, ready, block, cast, recoil, flip, and then I'm going to turn both my hands so that the thumbs are facing each other, and then take that whole wheel and roll it like you're going to smash downwards, palms facing down, right? Normally when we would smash, we would think of holding it like a baseball bat, the palms both facing the same direction. This is how a traditional, right? You want to hit something this way. In the smash in the BIAN form, the thumbs are facing each other. It's weird. It's a weird one. Okay? But when you do it, and for Mark, for the larger stick, try to keep the hands closer together, and you may bring them closer to the end of the stick so that you feel this. The name of this in the Chinese is called biangan, and it means whip stick. So there's a movement for this where if I take my left hand, I'm going to slide my right hand as I do this type of movement. Yes, right, close. Try it a couple of times, right? So I want my hand slide to coordinate with the turn and the flipping of the stick. So almost like I'm just going to send the thing, if I have one hand, like I'm going this way. I'm drawing it across the body. But now, instead of just drawing it across, my second hand is going to help throw it on the first part and control it on the second part. So remember, the biangan is about a lot of throwing, right? So this. Right? Let's do that again. So facing this direction. Well, let's go from the tip into the elbow, this one. So if I just hold my stick here on the right side, and I take my left hand, I put it above it, and then I turn my palms, so I take my left hand, put it into my elbow. That's this one. By the way, just while we're here doing this, look how much power you can get just from snapping that, right? By the way, Tika, that looks good, but keep control of this part of your arms and your upper structure so it doesn't flop. So that see how much my body is stable? And that stability allows this thing to sort of whip. Right? Yeah, that wrist turning is the action. So Mark, that's good, right? So you see that flip from the elbow. You can make it really flip far, or you can make it flip close, right? From there, while we have it in the elbow, from the after we've done the hit, right? We hit up to that corner. Now as you start to unwind, free your left hand and turn it palm down. And now that the thumbs are facing each other, take this whole circle and chop, right? So if it's in my elbow here, I turn my palms and I'm hitting down. That's good. And next, the next one is, when it's in your elbow, so for Mark, when it's here, flip to the elbow. When you turn your palms, when you do this one, slide the palm this way as you hit. So there's a hit and the slide happening at the same time. Actually, just do this, right? If I have my left foot forward, my left hand here, and my stick is this way, just dropping to here. I'm just dropping my hand and then sliding the wrist. Yes, right? So you feel that. So now let's combine the whole thing. So if I have the stick and it's tucked into my elbow, now unwind, smash and slide all at the same time. Right? Yeah, this may take a minute to practice. But let's look at what the static posture is. So whatever stick you're using, this static posture is like a lunge. If you practice a yoga or weightlifting, right? They have a lunge step. Sometimes in Chinese martial arts, this is called a qi ling bu, right? But we want to have the hips level, the spine level, and the stick is actually, we're holding somewhere between in the correct zone here, and it's level. So if I have it flipped up this way here, I'm going to turn all the way until it's level that way, right? And so you should see this. I'll use a switch to a smaller one, right? The same. If I flip up here, when I turn, my lunge is facing forward, and if I turn to face this way, you see my square. If my square is that way, and I have this as my side gate, and I have this flipped up here, right, and I'm on the edge of this one here, when I turn, the stick is lined up with my gate on the side here. And then next, this will go to the center, right? So, let's repeat. I'll use the smaller stick. Block, cast, recoil, flip up, turn, and smash. Right? So the smash ends in this qi ling bu, right, in the lunge, with the stick right next to the knee, going straight. We have everything lined up. And the next thing that we're going to do, almost like the second movement is a recoil. We have a recoil. So the next one, we're going to slide the hand towards the end of the stick this way, leaving at least a hand width at the end. And then when we step forward, the right foot steps forward and the left hand cuts up. So this one is, if you imagine your opponent in front of you, this is cutting up this way. So if that's a blade, right, we can use a sword this way. If my opponent is in front of me, I want to slicing right to their center. it's actually very difficult to defend because the inclination is to block this way. Well, if you're blocking that way, the blade is going to slide one way or the other over top of the weapon. So this is an interesting one. So if I go from the side view profile like we were doing just a second ago, elbow, smash, wah-bah, slide to catch, and then cut up. From the other side going that direction. Elbow, smash, slide, catch, and cut up. So that's sort of the next stopping point. That's the next posture, is this cut. And so, to review again, for review for some and for new information for Mark, the feeling is the same. This cut up can happen on its own. Right? This movement, especially if I use a long sword, the Miao Dao, I don't need a second hand. Remember, this applies to stick and blade. So the blade here, this, I can just cut up this way, right? And I can use power. I don't even need more than one hand. This cut happens naturally. But now watch, when I add the cut plus the catch, it gets a 1, 2. So there's already power coming up this way. 1, and then this second hand comes in behind it, right? So for everybody, take your weapon and hold it. If you have the longer one, leave a hand width to 3 hand widths at the top. At least 1 hand width. And then, while it's in front of you like this, take your left hand, and if you see my thumb is down, and then take your left hand, this is kind of weird, and just pull this like a lever. Right, so if you hold it, it's right in front of me. Right, so if I line up with the camera this way, I have it right in front, and then it's arms width out. My arm isn't fully straight, there's a little bit of a bend in both directions, and then I'm just going to pull this, just like a lever, right? And now combine the two. So this one is a cut up, so we have this swing. See how I make my sword blade goes along the bottom half of the circle, and then coming in behind it is this left hand, which is moving a little bit faster. And so it causes this second pivot point to happen. We have one pivot point, which creates this blade here. And then we have a second pivot point, which creates this second little extra blade here. So there's a multiplied power. The power becomes exponential by adding a second pivot. Swing, swing. Right? It has a 1, 2. Let's go again from the beginning. I'll start with a sword if I'm using the sword, right? So from here, the same, the salute, and then when I bring this to the ready, I only keep my hand on the back, the spine. That way when I go to do my block, right? Ready, block, chop, recoil. You know what, I'm just going to do it with a stick. Ready, block, cast, recoil, flip, smash, catch. So this is wah-bah, slide up to catch the stick, and then cut up the center. And the next one is just like the first movement is a block, but we have a step, right? So after we go from the ready, we have this blocking movement, right? And this cradling is for when, if you're using like the kind of stick that the rattan or the wood, the larger one, is here. But now in this second one, after we have the cut up to the center, when I turn, instead of just blocking here, I'm going to actually make that a spinning block, so it goes almost 180. And then this is on my gate on this side, and then if you can see my heel going back and drilling up, right? before I continue, questions, thoughts, comments? So, that's the drill. So going from the cut up, if I step back, block, and then drilling, the next one is a high hit level. Super easy, right? So if I use the smaller stick, right, this one, after I have my block, and then I want to poke this. When you're using this smaller stick, you're not going to use this to try to dismount anyone from their horse, right? That's for the larger the stick, the more of that kind of thing that you can do, right? Is really knock somebody down, really knock somebody off of, if they are on some type of vehicle. This is not going to do the trick. But the idea for this, when you're doing this one, is you can become very accurate and controlling this spiral. So imagine if you have the midpoint of your stick and you just turn it around that midpoint in 2 axes, like this. So it's like making an hourglass shape, 2 cones at either end, right? So as I turn this end in a circle, the other end goes in a circle too. And we're taking those 2 cones like that and shooting them also in a cone. So for the small stick like this, what you're looking to do is to get somebody's face. You're not looking to knock them down, but this thing doesn't have a diameter much greater than my thumb, right? So even something the size of your thumb, but that spiral, if you can get that type of power, right, to somebody's temple, and we can become very accurate at hitting wherever we want to hit with it. So by practice, so back from the beginning with the smaller stick, ready, block, the same thing. It's just a whack, like a whip, and then recoil, flip, smack, tip up, block, poke, high hit. Right, that's correct. So, and then for Mark, with this one, make the high hit. This one is probably the easiest of all the moves because the previous movement gets you wound up, and for this one, all you have to do is unwind and step straight. So if I'm in the drill this way here, I'm already wound. All I have to do is unwind both feet to parallel step, and then unwind both hands, shoulder width wide, shoulder width high. So from the drill, after I've done the drill, here, I'm already wound up. Unwind. And you can make it maybe a little bit lower than shoulders. And this one, from the wind, if I mirror you, Mark, this way, yeah, here. That's right, here. And so you can feel this other arm hit. For the smaller stick, if I'm poking up to that corner, right, I'm using this spiral to get around their defense and tap in at some delicate space, the eye, the nose, the temple, right, the chin, any of that thin bone. If I can get around their weapon or get around their hands, get around their defenses, I don't have to risk putting my hand in there, reaching, because I can use this and I have whatever extra distance here. Then the next one is the same. If I'm poking out this way, the same thing. If I poke, just turning it, right? Turn your waist and turn your wrists. It should feel like a double. 1, 2. So Tika, if I mirror you, it goes up to the corner. Question, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the last time you showed, like, from
not sure.
From here,
Yeah.
you flip your hand and you bring it down. That's what you showed last time.
Okay. Oh, so that's before the movement. So let's look from the cut up, right? If I'm facing this direction and I do the cut up, when I turn, before I do the drill, when I'm aiming in that direction, that's where I'm pushing down and turning this up to the corner. And then the next one is just a high hit. So from being up in the left corner, turn and hit to the right corner. Right? If I'm using left and right as my gait this way. Yeah, that looks correct. Yeah. And everything should feel very straight and angular for this one. Your feet should be parallel. Your back is straight. Your arms are almost straight. The stick is straight along the direction of the gait, right? So if I'm facing this way and I drill down to the corner here and I come up this way, next, unwind that way. That's right. That looks correct. Yeah. And by the way, remember, one of the BIAN, one of the weapons principles is we want to waba as much as we can every time we get a chance. So let's continue from there. I'm going to switch to the larger stick so that you guys can see, because it seems like you have some idea. From the beginning, we have block, cast, recoil, flip, smash, cut up, block. This is drill, high hit, and the next one is hitting low to the ground, right? So if I'm facing in that direction and I have my high hit, right, I've just done the drill, and then I unwind this way. Next, I'm going to turn my palm over and step back and hit, right? So if I face a different direction, if I have my drill and my high hit, the next one I turn my left palm over, I'm going to push the stick up and down so that my palm is facing backwards this way. The idea is we're hitting somebody's ankle. And so after this high hit facing in this direction, we're going to turn the palm and hit it down this way, right? So let me try it let me see what's happening with this size weapon, right? So if I drill, high hit, from here, take your left hand, and if you just pull it back and down, like you want to use gravity and turn, right? You'll find this movement. We can use this one as well. So the same thing, drill, high hit, and then turning, I can step back and find this movement. Questions?
Yeah, when you bring it back down, is it to your right side or to your left side?
It is to the, so if let me see if I mirror, if it goes here, and then high hit, and then I turn, it actually goes to the center, right? So if I turn and we call that direction away, north, and I'm drilling, high hit, this one goes right to the center. Let me face this direction. I'll do it once in one direction, once in the other direction. So drill, high hit, center. And by the way, this movement, remember, this is to make things even more confusing. Remember, this can move forwards and backwards. I use backwards because it feels like the backwards movement adds to the gravitational flow of the thing smashing the other person's ankle. By the way, this when you use even the BIAN, this size weapon, or like what Mark has, there's a lot of ankle attacks. There's a lot of stuff because it's so delicate. And even if you have a heavy boot, it's easy to take out the opponent's ankle. So let's look from the drill, high hit, and then from here, I'm just turning my left palm over. And then remember with this spiral, I'm going to make that sort of hourglass spiral and press down and step back. So if my opponent, I can use the bag, but because there's no legs, it will be more difficult to see. So instead of turning all the way to the feet, I'm going to turn to the midsection. So if I use my bag as the opponent, when I drill, I'm here, and then I have high hit, and then here, turning over to back hit that way, right? So if I'm facing, if the bag is in that direction, I drill, high hit, hit backwards. And this one, the hit backwards, just happens to be lower. You can make it higher, as we've just demonstrated with the bag, but to teach the form, to teach the most basic, we want to attack the foot. So let me face a different direction. If I'm going in this way, I drill, high hit, turn my palm over, and hit low, right? And this other hand can stay stationary, or it can help turn this hourglass. Remember, the same thing. If the opponent is attacking my center, I can actually get around his weapon, block the weapon in the midsection, and hit him low with the other end of the stick. Let's examine from the other weapon, from this one, from the shorter stick this way. Right? So after I drill up, I hit high. This is, imagine there's something, I'm going to use the office chair. Right? There's something back here. You don't like it, right? And if I'm facing this way and the chair's back here, and I point to it this way, if you take your stick and you lift up and turn back, if you see the pivot point is somewhere between these two hands, closer to this hand, right? If I do it fast, I don't know what you see, but my video is blurred. So it looks like a drumstick, or it looks like a stick that's in motion. And you can see where the pivot point is. So we're turning around that pivot, and then right at the end, we're applying this pressure. So we want to set the stick free, and then tell it where to stop. This is part of the throwing. We're going to ultimately, like in a sci-fi fantasy movie, the wizard can throw the stick, and then it comes back and it returns. It's not a boomerang, it's a regular size stick. But you need something to throw it up against, right? So if I throw the stick this way, bop, bop, and then I can catch it. Bop, bop, catch, right? Yeah, you got it, Mark, you got some idea. Let's continue. Ready, block, hit, flip, smash, tip, block, drill, high hit, low hit. And the next one, once it's here, if you're holding the stick and you have this, after you've tipped it down, the next one is tipping up. Right? And you're not bringing it to your center, you're bringing it to your side. So if there was if there's a weapon that's there in front of you, and sorry, I'm looking to you to get the longer stick. If somebody has a weapon, right, this next one is, I have a line of action. I'm using my snake gate, the side gate this way, and here I'm pulling this up. So imagine there's something in front of me, right, and I just want to, I'm holding it like this. So my thumb's facing each other. So if you have the stick, just pulling this way, like a lever, right? Like you want to pull this up. There's a lot of power. You're using the natural flexing this way. And this is a constraining pivot. You're going to find a lot of these movements have the same, it's a weird principle. It's a dual pivot system. The cut up the center, for instance, this is my fixed pivot, and this is my rotating pivot. So one pivot affects the other pivot. In the same way here, we have one pivot this way, and the other pivot is here. It's a pull. This is all based off the lever, right? So I think it was the Greek philosopher Archimedes that said, I could be wrong. I think he said, I'll move the earth if you give me a lever that's long enough and a fulcrum that can support the thing. So all of these hand tricks, we're using the principle of the lever, right? But then it's using it in a very interesting offsetting way. Before we continue, we have about no minutes left. Does anyone have questions, thoughts, comments, ideas? We'll continue. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
On the cut up, which way are the thumbs facing?
I have my right hand. So by the way, the BIAN gun has some measurements. When you get one that's officially cut for your size, there's a marking that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you see that little marking on my staff, if it's the right size, I'm holding it. That's called the 75% mark, right? So from there, my right hand is facing downwards, and just as if I was just slashing up, right? Like a no-brainer weapon, you're just slashing upwards, right? This sort of using the knife edge of your hand to slash up, right? And so when that's slashing up, the left hand comes over top of it, and it has the same quality as that block. It's a yin-yang, so it's like a soft, right? And it's cupping the edge of the handle of the sword this way. So you have a hard yang pivot this way and a soft, but that soft is also moving, so we get this tip up here, if that makes sense.
The thumbs are facing away from each other.
That's correct. On this one, they would be facing away. But think of this last one also like, in addition to activating the lever, I'm also going to use my whole forearm here to support this part of the weapon. So especially if I'm using a blade, right? Because I don't want my opponent to turn that blade against me. So when I'm doing this, even if here, I may not be as interested in causing the tilt to get the weapon as much as using my forearm to also secure the way it's placed. This is a black blade, so it's difficult to see against a black shirt. But I can use the smaller weapon as well. The same thing here is I may not be doing it to pull this to get this trigger action, but I can, when I bring this up, I can keep this blade wedged between my forearm, right? If the sleeve is in the way, you can't see it. But I can use it, it's against my forearm, right? And I have this circular thing here. So when I'm cutting up this way, it's being supported. The blade is being supported by my hand, by my arm, right? So the same action that we would use for the big cut, we can use for this one as well. It's a double power and also can be a support depending on which type of weapon we're using, right? The ideas, principles remain the same. Let's go through the whole form one more time before we call it good. We'll call this our closing. We'll just do a little bit of breathing. I'll back up so you can see further. Is from the salute to the ready, block, cast, recoil, flip, smash, catch, cut up, block, drill, high hit, low hit, tip up, tip forward, step, turn, hit. No, okay, whatever. Cool. Let's do this. If you have for Mark, if you can rest your hands on your staff, you can do this. For anybody else not using it, you can set your stick down. In fact, you know what? Let's actually do that. Everybody set the stick down, and imagine that you have an imaginary one, that you're going to make one out of chi. And so the chi staff extends from your palm. I'm using my left hand first, and all the way down to the ground. And so the same way as if I'm holding the sphere, I want to have a nice, relaxed, spherical shape. So take a deep breath and imagine the chi stick supporting your palm. You can let the fingers relax and feel the skin on the palm resting around the top. And then breathing deep, we're going to use the inside of the wrist here and setting that across the other hand. So the palm is supporting, just as if you've finished your hike. You reach the top and you like to turn and take a look at the view. And so you use the stick, so breathe deep, grip your toes, let your shoulders relax, let your elbows relax. And feel as though the arms are being supported by the center. And then leaving the eyes somewhere between open and closed, turn your focus inwards towards your center, towards your dantian. Take a second inwardly to smile to yourself. Breathing deep. It's late in the evening, it's 8:30, so using the weapons like this, you stir up a lot of energy. So take a couple of deep breaths while you relax and pull all the energy back to the center. Push the back of your neck up. Relax your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists. Pull all the energy back to the center. Did we already take a second to smile? Internally. There's only one you. That's a blessing and a curse. It's a good thing and a bad thing. So smile. Give thanks for who you are. We're all unique. Breathing deep. Relax your arms. Bring your hands together for Kung Fu. Salute. By the way, the BIAN videos on the YouTube page are marked in green. So I'm sort of separating the gold ones are the Tai Chi classes, the jade green ones will have the BIAN. So for classes like this, you can easily look on the website and find lessons. And for Mark, I think we have covered some of this material. So try to stay, this one's the easy one. It's maybe a little tricky to get used to some of the weird hand turns at first. It's a short form, but it's very valuable for self-defense. Like I said, you can use really anything to get the kind of benefit out of it. Call, email, text if you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Have a great night.